John, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I know where Travis is coming from. I would have said immediately, well, she's clearly demented. Her makeup around her eyes shows that she has probably been crying, and maybe the way her lips are stuck above her teeth too much, it looks like that she's got a dry mouth. So we can see the physiological response to some kind of mental ailment. But I know that I have, well, no, maybe I better say a bit more and say that what Travis maybe is demonstrating is an exemplar of what it means in, people are always very arguing about what it means to turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. And to be, oftentimes as well, they might say, like, if you're in an argument when you're a child, your parents would say, look, just be the better man, he doesn't know any better. He wasn't given the right upbringing. He wasn't taught how to behave or whatever it is, because I think when we were growing up, we probably all knew a child who was spoiled or had some kind of behavioral issues, and you would want to fight people who, got in your face or did unusual things, or were spiteful. You'd want to, sort of react with the same kind of attitude or hostile. If somebody provokes you react, but of course it rarely solves the situation. They say fight fire with fire. Let me move on and say, I used to ask my parents, I assumed that people in the olden days, in medieval, I thought medieval was a word that was synonymous with cruel and evil, medieval, like, the middle of the evil times or something. And they also thought that prehistoric times or biblical times was a time when people were just wrapped up in superstition, and that they would make this, well, to invoke Dan's name, the Baal Busters, that if Baal was this god that needed to be appeased, if there was a brass bull, and why would they offer their children up? Surely they'd be trying to protect their children. I mean, that maybe some evil priests or wizards or whatever they were trying to get these children and put them inside this brazen bull and light a fire underneath it, but surely the parents would not want that to happen. Why would they offer it up? Why would people want to throw their daughters into volcanoes? It doesn't make any sense. They'd say, look, throw somebody else's daughter, not mine. Why would they be offering up their own children? How could you subvert somebody's instinct for self-preservation or the preservation of their genetic offspring? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, as Dan said, I mean, maybe any of us who went first would have said, listen, there's so much there to pick apart. Yeah. Everything is so incoherent. It's extremely difficult to know where to begin. It's a web where it's like one of those impossible drawings, one of those diagrams that everywhere you look, you say, wait a minute, that perspective is out. Let me look somewhere else. I can't actually put any of this picture into perspective. It doesn't hang together because none of it does make any sense. But underneath it, we can see that I guess the psychology of it is that she has pieced together some hodgepodge of nonsense. She wills it to make sense, even though it doesn't. And I think the pain, the cognitive dissonance, whatever label we put on the pain, the mental anguish it causes her, it's too difficult. Even me with my own sort of limited understanding of the human condition through analysing myself, I do find it painful sometimes to go a little bit beyond into the final sort of destination, that if each train journey is a few stops and the journey is starting to come into view a bit, it's difficult to push the train that last little bit to come into the station and say, now I have a full realization of my motivations or why I feel the way I feel. I always assumed that when people became adults, after a certain year, maybe it was 17 for some people or 21 for other people, they were fully aware and cognizant of their own motivations and how their motivations affected them, and that we all tried to climb on top of our, not just emotions, but biological urges and drives and this kind of thing. But we want to retain a little bit of the, I suppose, the changing winds anyway. We don't want to necessarily always be in control of ourselves. People say, I like to let my hair down and let loose sometimes as well. So it's a very difficult thing to find a balance for, to be in charge of ourselves and yet allow us to be not totally like Mr. Spock or Mr. Spock out of Star Trek, just totally devoid of any aberrant behavior whatsoever. Right. So this woman is in pain. And instead of saying, well, look, whosever fault it is, it's not the people, even if it is true, even if all of this is true about the and it's being somehow prolonged by other people not taking this, even if it somehow is being prolonged by these people not taking it, surely, if anybody, I should be angry with the people who either created this or allowed it to spread without telling us in time. You know, somebody at the top needs to be held accountable first, and then we at least need to come up with rationale why other people are somehow at fault. But it doesn't make any sense. And the last thing that I will say, like before throwing the floor to somebody else, is that I also asked my parents, you know, when I got no real answer to, you know, basically people in the past were stupid and you know, superstitious and prone to bouts of madness. But at some point, maybe around my grandparents' age or prior to that, everybody became sensible. Adults became mature. And that was in the old days. So it's been quite a relatively recent shock to find out that wasn't the case. Never happened. We always thought every generation thinks they live in the modern age where we're sophisticated. But there never has been such an age. The veneer of civilization was always paper thin. And, you know, I think they did artificially stoke the amount of people who are highly susceptible to becoming agitated. Now, I asked the people, you know, my parents and teachers and that kind of thing. So in communist days when, you know, people were each other and say, you know, in Mao's China when they were saying, oh, look at those people who are wearing glasses. They must be intelligent, and intelligence is bad because something. So let's just kill them all. I went, but all these times when people went crazy, that time in when everyone just crazy overnight for no reason at all, that nobody can, you know, even give me one iota of an explanation as to why people went mad. And then all of a sudden just didn't go mad. They were all just fine again. What the hell was going on, you know? And why didn't people just explain to them, hello, excuse me, just like supposing if someone would come up to me and say, excuse me, you dropped your wallet or your shoelaces were undone, and I go, oh gosh, I'm terribly sorry. Or not, I'm sorry, but thanks for letting me know. I feel like such a fool. Why, instead of everybody, can't you just say, excuse me, you appear to be terribly wrong. Sorry, you're acting irrational. And why wouldn't they go, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. Thanks for letting me know. I'll correct my behavior immediately. Maybe there's a way, but Travis would like to find a way to reach this person. I know I have tried. And the people who I have tried with in the past, when I have shown them kindness, I've been their number one enemy. So whereas, you know, supposing if they would come to me and say, this person over here, he's trying to take my house, or he's made me homeless, or he's got me fired from my job or whatever. And if I would go, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear this. Do you need your month's rent paid? Or, you know, what can I do for you financially or anything else, you know? And if I do something for them, very, very, in a short amount of time, it seems like the person who did the thing to them is really their friend, and they were only doing their best and they made a mistake, but I'm the bad guy. And they always say, like, no good deed goes unpunished. It's another thing that's really, really depressed me. So that's, I'll end on that. I don't know how we would reach people, and it seems to be easier to just people. I think that's why people do it. It's just far easier to people who've got bad ideas.
To me, something to that whole talking thing that they talk about with the there's an element to that. Unfortunately, they actually create those people with their media and their education, so it's their fault.
That's kind of what I was looking at. My first reaction I had when I saw that video just like an hour ago, she just seemed, I thought, you know, I bet she spends 15 hours a day in front of the TV watching. That's like just the first thing I thought. She looks like the type of person who's afraid to leave the house. She like followed all the directions. I better not go outside, stay in my house. She looks like somebody who's probably had a lack of vitamin D, who's been ordering DoorDash for the last year and a half, eating terrible food, and having propaganda shoved down her throat 15 hours a day. That was like my first instinct when I watched that.
You know, she's probably also getting some funds from our taxes to